When you think of the greatest love stories of all time, a few love stories will pop into your head immediately. If you ask people what the greatest love story ever told is, you would get many different answers. Some may say Romeo and Juliet, or Mark Antony and Cleopatra. Maybe some would say Jack and Rose of Titanic. All of these that I mentioned definitely portray stories of true love. But what if I told you that the greatest love story ever told is one that involves you? The entire Bible is a divine romance. This means that the Bible is a very romantic book. This is true in particular of Song of Songs. This book is a portrait of the love relationship between us and Christ. According to Song of Songs, our relationship with the Lord should be very romantic. According to the entire Bible, there is a divine romance between God the Creator and the Redeemer, who is the male, and his redeemed people, who are the female. This divine romance is revealed repeatedly throughout the Bible. In the Old Testament, God told his redeemed people Israel that he was their husband and that they were his wife. When the Lord Jesus came, John the Baptist told his disciples that Christ was the bridegroom coming to take the bride, who is the church. In Ephesians 5, Paul says that the church is typified by the wife and Christ is typified by the husband. Therefore, Christ is the husband and the church is the wife. Paul also says that he betrothed us as a virgin to one husband who is Christ. Furthermore, Revelation 19:7 says, "The marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife has made herself ready." This wife is the aggregate of all the overcoming saints from the time of Abel until the Lord comes back. Finally, the New Jerusalem will be the consummation of God's counterpart, the aggregate of all his redeemed and perfected people. The ultimate consummation of the divine romance revealed in the Bible is a couple. The Bible begins with marriage of Adam and Eve in Genesis and ends with the marriage of the Spirit and God's redeemed people in Revelation. God's intention is to marry the man he created in his image. Just as Eve was created out of Adam, we were created out of our husband, God. God is ours, a universal couple in which he is the husband and we are the wife. As a divine romance, the Bible is a full record of God's wooing, even of his dating of men. Again and again in the scriptures, God comes to man in this way. The Bible is also full of God's courting of man. As a young man wants to give constant attention to the woman he is courting, even to the point of bothering her. So the Lord bothers us by courting us. The Bible records God's courtship of his people. In the New Testament, we see that when the Lord Jesus called his disciples, he was courting them. Again and again, the Lord Jesus bothered Peter in this courting way. It is significant that it was not Peter who came to the Lord. It was the Lord who came to Peter. In John 21, the Lord inquired of Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than this?" Twice more, the Lord asked him, "Do you love me?" By asking these questions of Peter, the Lord Jesus was courting him. The major prophets such as Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, and even the minor prophet Hosea, reveal God's romantic courting of his people. Ezekiel 16:8 says, "I passed by you and saw you, and then was your time, a time of love. And I spread my skirt over you and covered your nakedness. Indeed, I swore unto you and entered into the covenant with you, declares the Lord Jehovah, and you became mine." God includes such a romantic description in his holy word. As a whole, the Old Testament was spoken in the way of a covenant of engagement. This is the reason that Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Hosea all refer to God's people as his wife. Even though his people wanted to divorce him, the Lord would bring them back to himself. He would betroth them to him again. The law was given in a way of an engagement paper, of an engagement contract. When God gave the law to his people on the mountain, he was betrothing them to himself. In giving them the law, he was seeking to stir them up to love him and not to have any other beloved in addition to him. The whole New Testament was written in an atmosphere of romance. The Lord is the one courting us. We are his love, his spouse. Eventually, at the end of the New Testament, we have the marriage of Christ and his people. The entire New Testament was written in a way of romance and courtship. The entire Bible is God's courting word. In the Bible, we see that God is seeking our love. When the Lord asked Peter if he loved him, he was courting Peter. seeking His affectionate love. As a whole, the Bible is a word of such divine courtship. When the church as the bride is prepared, the Lord will return as the bridegroom. He promised, I will build my church. His word is never in vain, and His promise never fail. The millennium will be the wedding day in which the overcoming saints will participate. In the new heaven and new earth, all the saints of both the Old Testament and the New Testament will be the New Jerusalem, enjoying the divine married life with the Triune God for eternity. We all need to be lovers of Christ. There is no way for Him to accomplish what He is after if we do not love Him. Today, our God is still courting us. The only way for us to cooperate with Him for the accomplishment of His eternal purpose is by loving Him. He loves us and we need to love Him.